Did you know one state was run by a religious leader who had 55 wives, has a lake where you literally cannot sink no matter how hard you try, and contains rock arches so massive the Capitol building could fit underneath them? Utah is filled with bizarre records, jaw-dropping landscapes, and wild stories that sound absolutely insane. But every single one is real. So let's get started with 50 incredible facts about Utah. Fact 50. Utah has the highest birth rate in the entire United States, with families averaging more children than any other state. The median age is under 31, making it the youngest state in America. This youthful population creates a unique culture where elementary schools are packed and sports leagues thrive. The high birth rate connects to religious culture, as Latter-day Saints make up about 60% of the population. Walk through any Utah neighborhood and you'll see trampolines, basketball hoops, and minivans everywhere. Fact 49. The town of Hilldale sits on the Arizona border and gained notoriety as home to a polygamous sect led by Warren Jeffs. At one point, nearly everyone in town belonged to the fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Over half the residents shared the last names Jessup or Barlow due to generations of intermarriage. Warren Jeffs ran the community like a dictator until his arrest and conviction for child abuse. The town has slowly transformed since his imprisonment, with former members rebuilding their lives. Fact 48. The Bonneville Salt Flats cover 30,000 acres of hard white salt crust so flat you can see the curvature of the earth. Water dissolves salt from surrounding mountains, flows into this basin, and evaporates, leaving behind a surface so level that elevation varies less than 2 inches across miles. Land speed racers have used the flats since 1914, with drivers reaching speeds over 600 miles per hour. The salt crust can support vehicles, but feels crunchy underfoot like walking on fresh snow. Fact 47. Jell-O is the official state snack of Utah, and residents consume more Jell-O per capita than anywhere else in America. Green Jell-O with shredded carrots is a particular Utah specialty that confuses outsiders. The Jell-O obsession stems from the practice of bringing Jell-O salads to church potlucks and gatherings. Utah's Jell-O consumption is so legendary that the state legislature made it official in 2001. Grocery stores dedicate entire aisles to Jell-O in various flavors. Fact 46. The Great Salt Lake is saltier than the ocean and home to trillions of brine shrimp that turn parts of the lake pink. These tiny shrimp are the only animals that can survive the extreme salinity. The lake has no outlet, so minerals concentrate as water evaporates, creating salt levels up to 8 times saltier than seawater. Swimming feels like floating in space because the density makes sinking nearly impossible. However, the lake sometimes smells terrible when algae blooms die off. Fact 45. Delicate Arch, Utah's most famous landmark featured on license plates, is slowly collapsing and will eventually fall. The arch spans 46 feet and stands alone on a slick rock ridge in Arches National Park. Geologists estimate it could collapse tomorrow or last another 500 years, but erosion constantly weakens the sandstone. Despite this precarious existence, thousands hike 3 miles daily to see the arch, especially at sunset when it glows fiery red. Some Utahns propose building a replica for when the original falls. Fact 44. Utah is the driest state in the United States, receiving an average of just 12 inches of precipitation annually. Most moisture falls as snow in the mountains, leaving valleys and deserts extremely arid. Yet paradoxically, Utah also boasts the greatest snow on Earth in its mountains, where cold temperatures create legendary powder. This combination of desert lowlands and snowy peaks within miles creates dramatic contrasts. You can literally ski in the morning and mountain bike through Red Rock Desert in the afternoon. Fact 43. Fry sauce, a mixture of ketchup and mayonnaise, was invented in Utah and remains a regional obsession. Arctic Circle, a Utah-based burger chain, claims to have created it in the 1950s. Utahns put fry sauce on everything: French fries, burgers, onion rings, chicken strips, and even vegetables. The sauce has become such a cultural marker that transplants often mention fry sauce as one of the state's quirks. Some grocery stores sell bottled fry sauce, though most Utahns make their own secret recipes. Fact 42. The town of Helper got its name from the Helper engines added to trains to push them up steep grades out of the Bryce River Canyon. The town sits at the base of a challenging mountain pass that required extra locomotive power. Helper thrived as a coal mining and railroad town, but struggled when those industries declined. Today, the small town has reinvented itself as an arts community, with murals covering building walls throughout downtown. The quirky name attracts visitors curious about its origins. Fact 41. Utah's state cooking pot is the Dutch oven, the only state to designate an official cooking pot. This heavy cast iron pot was essential to Mormon pioneers, crossing the plains and settling the desert. Dutch ovens can bake, fry, stew, and roast using coals above and below, making them incredibly versatile. Utahns still use Dutch ovens extensively for camping and outdoor cooking. The World Championship Dutch Oven Cook-Off takes place annually in Utah, with competitors creating elaborate meals using only these cast iron pots. Fact 40. Rainbow Bridge is the world's largest natural bridge, spanning 275 feet across and rising 290 feet above the streambed. The bridge is so massive that the United States Capitol building could fit underneath it. Navajo people consider Rainbow Bridge sacred, calling it a petrified rainbow connecting heaven and earth. The bridge remained unknown to European Americans until 1909. Today, visitors reach it by boat across Lake Powell or via a challenging 14-mile hike. The massive stone arch demonstrates nature's artistic power over millions of years. Fact 39. Antelope Island in the Great Salt Lake is home to a herd of 500 to 700 free-roaming American bison. The bison were introduced to the island in 1893 and have thrived in the isolated environment. The island also hosts pronghorn antelope, bighorn sheep, mule deer, and millions of birds. Despite its name, Antelope Island actually has more bison than antelope. Visitors can drive onto the island via a 7-mile causeway and often encounter bison crossing the road. Fact 38. The first Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise was opened in Utah in 1952, making the state home to the oldest location outside Kentucky. Pete Harmon, who owned a restaurant in Salt Lake City, partnered with Colonel Sanders to open the franchise. Harmon invented the bucket meal concept and the slogan, "Finger Lickin' Good." The original restaurant building no longer stands, but a marker commemorates the site. This odd piece of fast food history connects Utah to the spread of American franchise restaurants. Fact 37. The largest pit excavation in the world is Bingham Canyon Mine, a massive copper mine southwest of Salt Lake City that's visible from space. The pit measures over 2.5 miles across and nearly a mile deep. Mining operations have removed more earth from Bingham Canyon than was dug for the Panama Canal. The mine has produced more copper than any mine in history. A massive landslide in 2013 dumped 145 million tons of rock into the pit, the largest non-volcanic landslide in North American history. Fact 36. Utah was the first state to have a Taco Bell located inside a gas station, pioneering the combination that's now common nationwide. The first Taco Bell Express opened inside a Chevron station in Utah in the 1990s. This innovation reflected Utah's car-centric culture and love of convenience. Now, the concept has spread across America, but Utah started the trend. The state is also home to numerous regional fast food chains found nowhere else. including Arctic Circle, Crown Burgers, and JCWs. Fact 35. Goblin Valley State Park contains thousands of mushroom-shaped rock formations called hoodoos that look like goblin heads, creating one of the strangest landscapes in America. These bizarre formations resulted from millions of years of erosion sculpting soft sandstone and mudstone. The goblins vary in height from a few feet to several yards tall, clustered in what locals call the Valley of Goblins. Visitors can walk among and climb on the formations, unlike most protected rock formations. The otherworldly landscape has appeared in science fiction films and commercials. Fact 34. The Transcontinental Railroad was completed at Promontory Summit on May 10, 1869, when the Central Pacific and Union Pacific Railroads met. Leland Stanford drove the ceremonial Golden Spike, connecting the nation by rail from coast to coast. Telegraph operators sent the news instantly across America, triggering celebrations from New York to San Francisco. This achievement reduced cross-country travel from months to less than a week. A National Historic Site now marks the location where the rails finally joined. Fact 33. Butch Cassidy, America's most famous outlaw, was born Robert Leroy Parker in Beaver, Utah in 1866. He learned cattle rustling and horse thieving from a local rancher named Mike Cassidy, whose surname he adopted. Cassidy led the Wild Bunch Gang, robbing trains and banks across the West, from a hideout in southeastern Utah called Robber's Roost. He never killed anyone during his robberies, operating with a code against unnecessary violence. Cassidy fled to South America with the Sundance Kid to escape Pinkerton detectives. Fact 32. The liquor laws in Utah are some of the strictest and strangest in America. For years, restaurants had to hide alcohol preparation behind Zion curtains, barriers preventing customers from seeing drinks being made. Beer sold in grocery stores was limited to 3.2% alcohol until 2019, forcing stronger beer sales to state-run liquor stores. Restaurants must serve food with alcohol, and drinks cannot contain more than 1.5 ounces of primary liquor. These laws stem from religious influence on state politics. The rules have relaxed somewhat but remain stricter than most states. Fact 31. The first transcontinental telegraph line was completed in Salt Lake City on October 24, 1861, connecting the eastern and western United States electronically. Brigham Young sent the first message, pledging Utah's loyalty to the Union during the Civil War. This technological achievement made communication nearly instantaneous across the continent. The telegraph ended the brief era of the Pony Express, which had operated for only 18 months. The completion represented another step in connecting the isolated Utah territory to the rest of the nation. Fact 30. Dinosaur National Monument straddles the Utah-Colorado border and contains one of the world's most significant dinosaur fossil sites. The quarry wall displays approximately 1,500 dinosaur bones still embedded in rock, creating a spectacular prehistoric graveyard. Visitors can see paleontologists working to uncover fossils. The site preserves remains of dinosaurs, including Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, Apatosaurus, and Diplodocus. The concentration of fossils suggests this area was a bend in an ancient river where carcasses accumulated. Fact 29. Temple Square in Salt Lake City attracts over 5 million visitors annually, more than the Grand Canyon. This 10-acre complex serves as headquarters for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and includes the iconic Salt Lake Temple, which took 40 years to build. The temple's 6 spires, topped by a golden statue of the angel Moroni, dominate the Salt Lake City skyline. The tabernacle houses a massive organ with over 11,000 pipes and is home to the famous Mormon Tabernacle Choir. Fact 28. The spiral jetty, created by artist Robert Smithson in 1970, extends 1,500 feet into the Great Salt Lake in a counterclockwise spiral. Smithson used over 6,000 tons of black basalt rock and earth to construct this massive earthwork sculpture. The jetty appears and disappears depending on lake levels, sometimes submerged for years. When visible, white salt crystals coat the black rocks, creating a ghostly appearance. The spiral jetty became one of the most famous works of land art, a movement using the earth itself as artistic medium. Fact 27. The Mountain Meadows Massacre of 1857 represents the darkest event in Utah history. A group of Mormon militiamen and Paiute allies attacked a wagon train of Arkansas immigrants, killing approximately 120 men, women, and children. Only small children were spared. The massacre occurred during a period of high tension between Utah's Mormon population and the federal government, known as the Utah War. For years, church leaders denied involvement, but evidence eventually proved Mormon participation. Only one man, John D. Lee, was executed for the crime. Fact 26. Calf Creek Falls features a 126-foot waterfall plunging into an emerald pool surrounded by desert landscape. The hike follows a creek through a canyon with ancient Native American pictographs and granaries visible on the walls. The contrast of falling water and lush vegetation against red sandstone creates a desert oasis. Swimming in the pool provides relief after the hot hike. The falls represent one of hundreds of hidden gems scattered across Utah's vast public lands. Fact 25. The Uinta Mountains are the only major mountain range in the lower 48 states that runs east to west rather than north to south. This unusual orientation creates unique weather patterns and ecosystems. The Uintas contain Utah's highest point, Kings Peak, which rises 13,528 feet. The range harbors hundreds of alpine lakes and extensive wilderness areas rarely visited due to remote access. Today, backpackers explore the high country, often going days without seeing another person. Fact 24. Wheeler Historic Farm in Murray preserves a working farm from the late 1800s and early 1900s, showing how Utah's agricultural heritage shaped the state. Visitors can milk cows, collect eggs, ride wagons, and experience farm life. The farm reminds Utahns that their grandparents and great-grandparents often worked the land. Utah's transition from agricultural economy to tech and service economy happened within living memory. Many suburban neighborhoods sit on land that was farmland just decades ago. Fact 23. Utah has more ghost towns than any other state, with estimates ranging from 200 to over 1,000 abandoned settlements. Mining booms created towns overnight, and mining busts emptied them just as quickly. Silver, copper, gold, coal, and uranium all sparked rushes that built communities. When ore played out or prices crashed, residents simply left, abandoning buildings to the desert. Some ghost towns like Grafton are beautifully preserved and appear in films. Others are just foundations and rubble slowly returning to nature. Fact 22. The town of Thistle was destroyed by a massive landslide in 1983 that dammed the Spanish Fork River and created a lake that submerged the entire town. The landslide, triggered by heavy spring runoff, moved 21 million cubic yards of earth. Water backed up behind the natural dam, flooding homes and forcing complete evacuation. Attempts to drain the lake were partially successful, but Thistle was abandoned. Today, the remains of buildings poke above the water or sit partially buried in silt. Thistle became Utah's most expensive natural disaster. Fact 21. The Gilgal Sculpture Garden in Salt Lake City contains bizarre religious-themed sculptures created by Mormon stonemason Thomas Child in his backyard. The garden features a sphinx with Joseph Smith's head, stones carved with scriptures and poetry, and various mysterious symbols. Child created the garden from the 1940s to 1960s as a personal expression of his faith and philosophy. The unusual garden was nearly destroyed after Child's death, but was saved and opened to the public. It remains one of Salt Lake City's oddest attractions. Fact 20. The San Rafael Swell is a vast dome of twisted rock covering 900 square miles of remote central Utah. Erosion carved deep canyons and created bizarre rock formations across this geologic uplift. The swell contains slot canyons, arches, pinnacles, and ancient rock art. Unlike Utah's famous national parks, the San Rafael Swell remains relatively unknown and undeveloped, managed by the Bureau of Land Management. Adventurers explore this wilderness by foot, mountain bike, and four-wheel drive vehicle. Fact 19. The Great Gallery in Horseshoe Canyon contains some of North America's most spectacular ancient rock art. The ghostly, life-sized pictographs depict human-like figures with elaborate decorations and haunting expressions. The Barrier Canyon-style art dates back over 2,000 years, created by the archaic peoples who predated the Fremont culture. The figures seem to float on the canyon walls, created with red and white pigments. The site requires a challenging hike into a remote canyon. Fact 18. Utah's Dixie region in the southwest corner has a climate warm enough that Mormon settlers attempted to grow cotton in the 1860s. Brigham Young called families to move south and establish cotton production so Utah could be self-sufficient. The venture largely failed due to poor soil and difficult growing conditions, but the area kept the nickname Utah's Dixie. Today, St. George and surrounding areas have exploded in population, with retirees attracted to warm winters and golf courses. Fact 17. The 9-mile canyon contains thousands of rock art panels created by the Fremont and Ute peoples over thousands of years. Despite the name, 9-Mile Canyon actually stretches over 40 miles through remote eastern Utah. The canyon walls display petroglyphs and pictographs depicting hunting scenes, human figures, and mysterious symbols. The concentration of rock art earned 9-Mile Canyon the nickname the world's longest art gallery. The canyon represents an irreplaceable record of the peoples who inhabited Utah long before European arrival. Fact 16. The town of Manila in northeastern Utah sits closer to 6 state capitals than to its own capital in Salt Lake City. Manila is closer to the capitals of Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Colorado than to Salt Lake City. This geographic quirk highlights Utah's vast size and the isolation of rural communities. Residents of Manila and other remote towns often identify more with neighboring states than with the Wasatch Front urban corridor. Fact 15. The University of Utah developed the first artificial heart, implanted into patient Barney Clark in 1982. Dr. Robert Jarvik designed the Jarvik 7 artificial heart, which kept Clark alive for 112 days. This pioneering surgery made international headlines. While Clark's health was too poor for the device to save him, the achievement proved artificial hearts were possible. The technology continued developing, leading to modern ventricular assist devices that save thousands of lives annually. Fact 14. Kennecott's Bingham Canyon mine has produced more copper than any mine in history, extracting over 19 million tons of copper since 1906. The mine also produced significant quantities of gold, silver, and molybdenum. At 2.75 miles across and 0.75 miles deep, the mine is the largest man-made excavation on Earth. Mining operations run 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, with massive trucks carrying 320 tons of ore each trip. A visitor center allows tourists to overlook the pit and watch operations. Fact 13. The Pony Express operated for only 18 months, from April 1860 to October 1861, but several stations were located in Utah. Young riders galloped between stations about 10 miles apart, changing horses to maintain speed. They carried mail from Missouri to California in about 10 days, half the time of stagecoaches. The service was expensive and unprofitable. The completion of the transcontinental telegraph in 1861 made the Pony Express obsolete overnight. Several original Pony Express stations still stand in Utah as historic sites. Fact 12. The town of Fruita in Capitol Reef National Park preserves a historic Mormon settlement surrounded by fruit orchards. Settlers planted nearly 3,000 fruit trees in the late 1800s, taking advantage of reliable water from the Fremont River. The orchards still produce fruit today, and visitors can pick apples, pears, peaches, cherries, and apricots during harvest season. The National Park Service maintains the orchards using historic methods. Walking through these green orchards surrounded by red rock cliffs creates a surreal juxtaposition. Fact 11. The Colorado Plateau, which includes much of southeastern Utah, became a major uranium mining region during the Cold War. Moab became a uranium boom town, with miners extracting ore for nuclear weapons and power plants. The uranium mining legacy left radioactive tailings and contaminated groundwater that required massive cleanup efforts costing hundreds of millions of dollars. The boom and bust cycle repeated once more, this time with radioactive consequences. The cleanup continues today, a reminder that resource extraction comes with long-term costs. Fact 10. Skinwalker Ranch in the Uinta Basin gained notoriety for reported paranormal activity, including sightings, cattle mutilations, and strange creatures. A billionaire purchased the ranch to study the phenomena scientifically. The ranch remains closed to the public, but the surrounding area reports ongoing strange activity. Believers claim the area is a paranormal hotspot, while skeptics dismiss it as fantasy. Regardless of truth, the ranch has entered popular culture through books, documentaries, and a television series. Fact 9. The Bear River enters Utah from Wyoming, loops around the northern end of the Wasatch Range, exits into Idaho, returns to Utah, and empties into the Great Salt Lake. This unusual path makes the Bear River one of the longest rivers in America that doesn't reach the ocean. The river travels over 350 miles, but ends in a landlocked lake. The Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge provides habitat for millions of birds using the Pacific Flyway. Fact 8. Philo Farnsworth, the inventor of electronic television, was born in a log cabin near Beaver, Utah, in 1906. As a 14-year-old high school student in Rigby, Idaho, he sketched his idea for electronic television for his science teacher. Farnsworth conceived the idea while plowing a field in straight lines, realizing an electron beam could scan images the same way. He successfully demonstrated the first electronic television in San Francisco in 1927 at age 21. Despite his revolutionary invention that changed the world, Farnsworth spent years in bitter patent disputes and never received the recognition he deserved during his lifetime. Fact 7. Park City transformed from a silver mining town into one of America's premier ski resort destinations. Silver was discovered here in 1868, and by 1900, Park City had produced over $400 million worth of silver. When silver prices collapsed, the town nearly died until skiing brought new life starting in the 1960s. Today, Park City Mountain Resort and Deer Valley Resort offer world-class skiing on over 7,000 acres. The historic Main Street preserves Victorian-era buildings now housing galleries, restaurants, and shops. Fact 6. The Hole in the Rock expedition of 1879 to 1880 saw 236 Mormon pioneers blast and carve a wagon road through impossible terrain to establish settlements in southeastern Utah. The route required descending a 1,200-foot cliff where no road existed. The pioneers lowered wagons down this precipice, using ropes and sheer determination. The journey that church leaders thought would take 6 weeks actually took 6 months of brutal labor. Families lived in wagons through a harsh winter while men worked on the road. The expedition succeeded, establishing the town of Bluff. Fact 5. Newspaper rock near Canyonlands National Park displays one of the largest known collections of petroglyphs in the Southwest. The single rock panel contains hundreds of images spanning 2,000 years of human history. Ancestral Puebloans, Fremont, Ute, and Navajo peoples all added to the panel over centuries. The images include animals, human figures, hunting scenes, and mysterious symbols. The name Newspaper Rock suggests it served as a message board where different groups left their marks. The panel offers a visual timeline of the peoples who passed through this canyon over millennia. Fact 4. Monument Valley, straddling the Utah-Arizona border, features iconic sandstone buttes rising up to 1,000 feet from the desert floor. These formations have appeared in countless Western films, particularly those directed by John Ford, making Monument Valley synonymous with the American West in popular imagination. The valley lies within the Navajo Nation, and Navajo guides offer tours explaining the cultural and geological significance of formations with names like the Mittens and Merrick Butte. Sunrise and sunset transform the buttes into glowing monuments of stone and shadow. Fact 3. The Fremont people inhabited Utah for about 1,000 years before vanishing around 1300. They built stone granaries, created distinctive rock art, and developed unique pottery styles. Then they disappeared, abandoning their settlements for reasons still debated. Theories include drought, crop failures, disease, and conflicts with other groups. The Utes and Paiutes inhabited the region when Europeans arrived, but the connection to the Fremont people remains unclear. The mysterious disappearance adds to the intrigue of Utah's ancient past. Fact 2. The legacy of Utah's pioneers continues to shape the state's identity and culture. Utahns celebrate Pioneer Day on July 24th, commemorating Brigham Young's arrival in the Salt Lake Valley. The holiday includes parades, rodeos, fireworks, and celebrations across the state. The pioneer heritage of hard work, self-reliance, and community cooperation remains central to how Utahns see themselves. Whether descended from pioneers or recent arrivals, residents embrace these values. The pioneering spirit drives innovation in technology, medicine, and business while preserving traditions. Fact 1. Utah embodies contradictions that make it endlessly fascinating. It's deeply religious, yet fiercely independent. It has strict liquor laws and world-class skiing. It has vast, empty deserts and booming cities. Ancient rock art adorns canyons while tech companies build campuses. Conservative politics dominate while countercultures thrive in pockets. The natural wonders alone would make Utah remarkable, but the human story adds layers of complexity. From polygamist compounds to Silicon Slopes tech startups, from ghost towns to gleaming temples, Utah defies simple categorization. The state's contradictions aren't problems to solve, but features that create a unique American place. And there you have it. 50 incredible facts about a state that defies every expectation. Utah gave the world television, survived on Jell-O and fry sauce, and built a civilization in one of Earth's harshest deserts. The landscapes look like alien planets. The history reads like fiction, and somehow it all actually happened. If you enjoyed these wild facts, smash that like button and subscribe for more mind-blowing countdowns. Thanks for watching, and remember, Utah proves that truth is always stranger than anything you could make up.